My name is Julia Hayes. I am 28 years old. 1 week ago, my husband and I were celebrating our first wedding anniversary with both of our families. It was supposed to be a beautiful night, especially because I was 3 months pregnant with our first child. But in the middle of the celebration, a stranger suddenly stood up and pointed at me. Then he said something that made the entire room fall silent. He claimed that the baby I was carrying was actually his. To prove it, he even showed medical reports to everyone. Within minutes, people started whispering. My husband's family turned against me and began shouting that he should divorce me immediately. I stood there, crying, trying to explain that the man was lying, but no one believed me. No one. Until my husband suddenly did something that shocked everyone in the room. Even I didn't expect it. But before I tell you what actually happened, make sure to like and subscribe to the channel and tell me your country in the comments. Now, let's begin. That night, our house was filled with light, music, and laughter. It was our first wedding anniversary, and my husband had planned everything perfectly. The living room was decorated with soft lights and flowers, and a long table was set in the center, covered with food that his family had helped prepare. Relatives and close friends were slowly arriving, bringing gifts and warm smiles. Everyone was dressed beautifully, talking, laughing, and enjoying the moment. From the outside, it looked like a perfect life, and for a moment, I believed it was. I stood near the window, gently holding my stomach, feeling a quiet happiness inside me. I was 3 months pregnant, and even though we hadn't told everyone yet, that little secret made the night feel even more special. My husband came and stood beside me, placing his hands softly over mine. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. I smiled and nodded. "I'm happy," I said, and I meant it, because no matter how difficult things had been, I loved him. But the truth was, our marriage was never as simple as it looked. I came from a very simple, poor family. My parents had worked hard their whole lives just to give me a basic education and a decent life. We never had much, but we had respect and honesty. My husband, on the other hand, came from a wealthy and powerful family. They owned properties, businesses, and lived a life I had only seen in movies. When he first chose me, I couldn't believe it, and neither could his family. At the beginning, his family tried to act polite. They smiled, spoke kindly, and welcomed me into their home. But slowly, things began to change. Their words became sharper. Their smiles became colder. Sometimes it was small comments. "She doesn't really fit in here. Her background is different." And sometimes it was more direct. "People from her level don't understand our lifestyle." I tried to ignore it. I tried to adjust. I changed the way I dressed, the way I spoke, even the way I behaved in front of guests. Not because I wanted to, but because I wanted to be accepted. Because I loved my husband, and I didn't want to create problems between him and his family. He always told me the same thing: "Don't listen to them. I chose you." And I believed him. That night, as the celebration continued, I noticed his family watching me again, whispering quietly among themselves. I pretended not to see it. I focused on the music, the laughter, the guests. I kept telling myself, "Tonight is special. Don't let anything ruin it." After some time, my husband stood up and raised a glass. The room slowly became quiet. He smiled and thanked everyone for coming, talking about our first year of marriage, about the future, about the life we were building together. As I listened to him, my eyes filled with tears. For a moment, everything felt right. But just as people began clapping, something unexpected happened. A man I had never seen before slowly walked into the room. At first, no one paid much attention. People thought he might be a late guest. But instead of greeting anyone, he walked straight toward the center of the room. Then he stopped and turned toward me.
His eyes locked onto mine in a way that made my heart feel uneasy. The room slowly grew quiet again. Confused whispers spread among the guests. Before anyone could ask anything, the man raised his voice and said, "I'm sorry to interrupt this celebration, but everyone here deserves to know the truth." My heart started beating faster. I had no idea who he was or why he was looking at me like that. Then, without hesitation, he pointed directly at me and said something that made my entire world stop. "The baby she's carrying is mine." For a second, the entire room went silent. Then suddenly, whispers started spreading everywhere. People looked at each other in confusion, trying to understand what they had just heard. Some thought it might be a joke, but the serious look on his face made it clear that he wasn't joking at all. I felt like the ground beneath my feet had disappeared. I I don't even know you," I said, my voice shaking. But the man didn't step back. Instead, he looked around at everyone and spoke louder. "I had an affair with her," he said confidently, "and that baby is mine." Gasps filled the room. My heart started racing. "No, that's not true," I cried. "He's lying." But before I could say anything else, he pulled out a file from his bag. "If you think I'm lying," he said calmly, "then look at this." He handed the papers to one of my husband's relatives. Within seconds, people gathered around. "These are medical reports," someone said. "They clearly match the timeline," another voice added. "And look at this," someone else whispered. The man then took out his phone and showed photos of us together. I froze. Those pictures, they looked real. Too real. "I don't understand," I whispered to myself. "I've never met him." But no one was listening anymore. The room was no longer filled with celebration. It was filled with judgment. My husband's mother stepped forward, her face full of anger. Before I could react, she slapped me hard. The sound echoed across the room. My head turned to the side as tears instantly filled my eyes. "This is disgusting," she said. "You brought shame to our family." "I didn't do anything," I cried, tears rolling down my face. But she ignored me and turned to her son. "End this now," she said sharply. "Divorce her immediately." Other relatives joined in. "We always knew she wasn't right. Look where she comes from. This is exactly why we were against this marriage." Each word felt like a knife cutting deeper into my heart. I looked at my husband, hoping he would say something, hoping he would stop all of this. But before he could speak, the man stepped forward again. "I didn't want to expose her like this," he said, acting calm, "but I couldn't stay silent anymore." That was it. Something inside me broke. "Stop lying," I shouted. But in the very next moment, my husband suddenly stepped forward. His face was no longer calm. He walked straight toward the man, and without warning, he grabbed him and pushed him back hard. "Enough," he shouted. The entire room froze again. Before anyone could react, he punched the man, making him stumble to the side. "How dare you come into my house and say this?" he said angrily. Then he turned toward everyone. His voice was firm. "I know my wife," he said firmly. "I know her better than anyone in this room." A heavy silence filled the air. "She would never do something like this," he continued. "I don't care what papers you show or what pictures you bring." My heart stopped for a moment. I believe her. Those 3 words felt stronger than everything else. But his family didn't stay quiet. His father stepped forward, his face cold and serious. "Think carefully before you make a mistake," he said. "We gave you everything." His mother added, "If you choose her over your family, then you are no longer part of this house." Another relative spoke. "You will lose everything, your name, your wealth, everything." The pressure in the room became suffocating. Then his father's voice turned even colder. "You have to make a choice," he said firmly. "We will not let this girl ruin our reputation." I felt my body shaking. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was his entire life, his family, his future, everything. Tears kept falling from my eyes as I looked at him. I didn't want to be the reason he lost everything. But at the same time, I was terrified. Terrified that even he might change his mind because of all this pressure, because of everything at stake. And in that moment,
Everyone in the room waited for his decision. For a few seconds, no one spoke. All eyes were on my husband. His family stood there, waiting for his answer, waiting for him to choose between me and them. I could barely breathe. Tears were falling down my face as I looked at him. I didn't say anything. I didn't beg because deep inside, I was afraid of the answer. Then, finally, he moved. He didn't look at his family. He didn't say a single word to them. He simply walked toward me and held my hand. That one small action set everything. "Come with me," he said quietly. And without looking back, he walked out of the house with me. Behind us, I could hear voices shouting, his parents calling his name, relatives trying to stop him, but he didn't stop, not even for a second. That night, we left everything behind. The big house, the wealth, the life he had known forever. We sat in the car in complete silence. As soon as the door closed, I broke down. I couldn't stop crying. "I swear I didn't do anything," I said again and again. "I don't even know that man. Please believe me." My voice was shaking. I was scared that maybe, deep inside, he still had doubts. He turned toward me, his voice calm. "I know you," he said. "I trust you." I looked at him through my tears. "No matter what anyone says, no matter what they show," he continued, "I will not believe a stranger over my own wife." Those words gave me a kind of peace I can't explain. But then his expression changed slightly, becoming serious. "This isn't over," he said. "He's lying, and I need to know why." The next few days, he didn't rest. He started digging into everything, every detail, every small clue. He used his contacts, his influence, everything he had, because he was sure of one thing: that man was lying. But the question was, why? At first, the man tried to hide. He avoided calls, ignored messages, but my husband didn't give up. Finally, he found him, and this time there was no escape. The man was brought in and forced to speak. At first, he kept repeating the same story, but slowly the truth started breaking through. Under pressure, he finally confessed. He admitted that it was all a lie. He said that my husband's family had paid him to come to that party and accuse me. They had told him exactly what to say, what documents to show, and how to make everything look real. For a moment, I couldn't even breathe. My husband stood there in complete silence, trying to process what he had just heard. Then he asked one simple question: why would they do this? The man hesitated for a second, then lowered his head and said that his family had never accepted me. He explained that they always wanted their son to marry a rich woman, someone who could match their status and protect their reputation. And because of that, they didn't want my child to become part of their family or have any share in their wealth. Those words changed everything. My husband didn't say anything after that, but I could see it in his eyes. Something inside him had completely broken. A week later, he made a decision. Without telling anyone, we went back to his family house. When we arrived, everyone looked surprised. At first, they thought he had come back to fix everything, to leave me and return to them. But they were wrong. He walked inside calmly, holding my hand, and stood in front of his parents. The room was silent. Then, finally, he spoke. He told them everything: the truth, the lie they had created, the man they had paid, every single thing. His mother's face turned pale. His father tried to stay calm, but his expression changed. Then his mother started crying. "We only wanted a better future for you," she said. His father added, "We did all this for your good. You don't understand now, but one day you will." My husband looked at them for a long moment. There was no anger on his face, just disappointment, deep, painful disappointment. Then he said quietly, "I trusted you."
The room fell silent again. I could have lost my wife, my child, because of you. No one had an answer. Then he took a step back and said something I will never forget. From today, I have no family here. His mother broke down completely. His father tried to stop him, but he didn't stay. He didn't argue. He didn't look back. He simply held my hand and walked away forever.